When I first stepped into Rosewood Mansion, it felt like stepping back in time. The sprawling estate in Savannah, Georgia, was a masterpiece of antebellum architecture. Its grand columns stretched toward the heavens, and ivy curled around its weathered facade. The scent of wisteria wafted through the air as I pushed open the heavy oak doors. As a wedding planner, I'd walked into countless venues, but this one was different. Its beauty carried a haunting weight, as if the walls themselves bore secrets untold. I was there to prepare for an elaborate wedding, the event of the season. The bride had called it. She wanted a perfect Southern Gothic aesthetic, and Rosewood Mansion delivered in spades. But the moment I crossed the threshold, an icy draft raised the hairs on my arms. Despite the warmth of the spring sun outside, my first task was to inspect the ballroom. The high ceilings gleamed with ornate chandeliers, and sunlight filtered through stained glass windows. As I admired the craftsmanship, a flicker in the corner of my eye drew my attention to an antique mirror hanging by the far wall. There she was, a figure in a tattered wedding dress stood behind me, her veil torn and her face obscured. My heart thudded in my chest as I spun around, but the room was empty. When I turned back to the mirror, she was gone. I laughed nervously, chalking it up to exhaustion. Planning a wedding of this scale was stressful, after all. But as the day wore on, the unsettling feeling didn't leave. It wasn't just a figure in the mirror. Doors creaked open on their own, and faint whispers echoed through the hallways when no one else was around. By evening, I was convinced that Rosewood Mansion was more than just old, it was alive. Curiosity got the better of me. That night, after the staff had gone, I explored the mansion alone. My footsteps echoed on the marble floors as I climbed the grand staircase. The second floor was lined with portraits of stern-faced ancestors. Their eyes seemed to follow me as I passed. At the end of the hallway, I found a door slightly ajar. Inside was the attic, a dusty and forgotten space filled with relics of the past. As I rummaged through old trunks and boxes, I stumbled upon a yellowed envelope sealed with wax. The letter inside was fragile but legible. Its words chilled me to my core. It was a love letter, written by a woman named Lily, who professed her undying devotion to her fiancé, Charles. But the tone shifted halfway through, as if she had discovered something horrifying. I cannot fathom why you would do this, Charles. How could love turn to such greed? If you go through with this, I fear I shall not see another sunrise. The letter ended abruptly. The ink smudged as if by tears. Lily, the name echoed in my mind. Could it be the same Lily I'd seen in the mirror? I took the letter to my room, unable to shake the feeling that I'd uncovered something forbidden. That night, I dreamed of a wedding gone horribly wrong. Lily stood at the altar, her veil pristine and her smile radiant. But as she extended her hand, Charles plunged a knife into her chest. Blood stained her white gown as she crumpled to the floor. I woke gasping, the image seared into my mind. The next day, I sought answers. I asked the mansion's caretaker, an elderly man named Henry, about the letter. His face paled, and he muttered something about old ghosts before walking away. Determined, I delved into the mansion's history. In the library, I found a dusty ledger detailing the Rosewood lineage. Charles Montgomery, heir to the estate in the late 1800s, was engaged to Lily Harper, a wealthy socialite. But their wedding never happened. According to the records, Lily had disappeared the night before their ceremony. Her body was never found. The pieces fell into place. Charles had killed her for her inheritance, and his family had covered up the crime. But Lily's spirit had lingered, bound a mansion where her life had ended so violently. That evening, as the sun set, I returned to the ballroom. The mirror beckoned, and I stood before it, clutching the letter. Lily, I whispered, I know what happened to you. The air grew colder and the lights flickered. She appeared again, her figure shimmering like smoke. This time, I didn't look away. Her eyes, dark and sorrowful, met mine, and I felt her grief as if it were my own. I will make them know, I promised her. Your story won't stay hidden. The next morning, I contacted the press. The letter and the history of Rosewood Mansion became the headline of every local paper. The Montgomery family's attempts to suppress the truth failed, and Lily's story was finally told. The mansion became a symbol of justice, a testament to the resilience of the past. Couples still wed there, but they did so with reverence, honoring the memory of the bride who never got her day. As for me, I left my career as a wedding planner. Rosewood had changed me. I realized my true calling was to uncover forgotten truths, to give voices to those silenced by time. Even now, I sometimes feel Lily's presence. In the quiet moments, when the world is still, I sense her gratitude, a whisper on the wind. She is free, and so am I. St. Mary's Church had always been a source of fascination for me. Its weathered stone facade stood resilient against the test of time, a silent witness to centuries of devotion, secrets, and tragedy. As a college student majoring in religious history, I had a penchant for peeling back the layers of the past to uncover truths lost to the sands of time. St. Mary's, with its infamous bell tower collapse, was a story begging to be told. The collapse, they said, had been an accident. During a bustling Sunday service decades ago, the tower crumbled without warning, killing several people, including a young woman named Clara. But something about the incident never sat right with me. Witness accounts were inconsistent, records oddly sparse, and the church's leadership at the time seemed eager to move on. I couldn't shake the feeling that something had been deliberately buried, both literally and figuratively. On a chilly October evening, armed with nothing more than my notebook, a flashlight, and an insatiable curiosity, I entered the church. The current clergy were friendly enough but evasive when I mentioned the tower. They allowed me to wander during the day, but avoided direct answers. So I waited until nightfall, slipping to the side door I'd noticed earlier. The air inside was colder than outside, heavy with a stillness that made the slightest noise echo like a shout. The bell tower, though officially off limits, loomed above the nave, its entrance marked by a faded warning sign. My heart pounded as I approached, the beam of my flashlight illuminating the cracked wooden door. It creaked open, revealing a spiral staircase that seemed to twist endlessly into darkness. The ascent was slow, each step accompanied by the groan of ancient wood. As I climbed, a peculiar sensation crept over me, a tingling at the back of my neck, as if unseen eyes were watching. I paused, listening, but heard only my own breathing. Then came the first whisper. "Olivia." The voice was faint, almost swallowed by the silence, but it was unmistakably a woman's. I froze, every nerve in my body on edge. "Hello," I called, my voice trembling. The echo mocked me, but there was no reply. I continued upward, my pulse quickening with each step. Near the top, the stairs opened into the bell chamber. The room was in disarray, with debris scattered across the floor and the remnants of the bell lying in a jagged heap. But it wasn't the wreckage that caught my attention. It was the carvings on the walls. Symbols, etched deep into the stone, surrounded me. They were unlike anything I'd seen before, a blend of religious iconography and something far darker. As I traced them with my fingers, the air grew colder and the whisper returned, louder this time. "Olivia, help me." I spun around, and there she was, a translucent figure, her form shimmering like heat waves on asphalt. Clara. Her face was pale and hollow, her eyes wide with a sorrow that seemed endless. Who are you?" I stammered, though I already knew. She didn't answer immediately, her gaze fixed on the carvings. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "They killed me." The word sent a chill down my spine. "What do you mean? The collapse was an accident, wasn't it?" I asked, though I already suspected the answer. She shook her head, her translucent hair moving as if caught in an invisible breeze. "They lied. The tower didn't fall on its own. It was sabotage. They wanted to hide their sins." Her words tumbled out in a rush, each one sharper than the last. The church officials, she explained, had been embezzling funds, using the congregation's donations to line their pockets. When the scandal threatened to come to light, they orchestrated the collapse to destroy the evidence. Unaware it would also claim innocent lives, including Clara's. My mind reeled. Could it be true? The carvings, I realized, weren't random. They were warnings left by someone who had known the truth. "Why me?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "You see what others don't," she said simply. "You can help me." The room seemed to darken as she spoke, shadows gathering in the corners. My instinct screamed at me to run, but I couldn't leave her. "Not yet. What do you want me to do?" Clara pointed to a section of the wall where the carvings were particularly dense. "Behind there," she said. "The proof. Find it." I hesitated, then used a piece of fallen stone to chip away at the wall. It took hours, my hands blistering and my arms aching, but eventually I uncovered a hidden compartment. Inside was a stack of old ledgers, their pages yellow with age. As I flipped through them, the scope of the corruption became clear. Names, dates, amounts, everything was meticulously recorded. Clara's form began to fade as I held up the ledgers. "Thank you," she said, her voice softer now. "You've given me peace." And then she was gone. I descended the tower as dawn broke, the ledgers clutched tightly to my chest. Over the following weeks, I shared my findings with the authorities and the media. The scandal rocked the community, and those responsible, some of whom were still alive, were finally held accountable. The bell tower was restored as a memorial to those who had perished, including Clara. As for me, I couldn't step foot in St. Mary's again. The memories were too vivid, the whispers too haunting. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear her voice. Not pleading, but grateful.